Hello, friends. Well, I'm back again. And today we're going to talk about nurse bullying. Bullying in the workplace. It happens. It's probably very rare, but it happens. I've been a nurse for over 20 years, and I have two main incidents that happened to me with bullying. So it does happen. A couple years ago, when I was doing my master's in nursing, I came across an article and it was saying so many nurses leave the bedside because of bullying, and I was so shocked. I can't remember the number right now, but it's a lot. It was a lot. And the article was saying they leave nursing completely. They don't just leave the bedside, they leave nursing completely. So let's talk about it, what you can do about it, okay? So the first thing with bullying is recognizing the bullying. So, okay, you get up, you get dressed, you go to work, and you know you're going to do your best at work and everything. And here comes the bullying. It can be verbal abuse. It can be someone just undermining your work. It can be in different forms. It can be any behavior that is going to make you feel intimidated. That's the role of the bully, to make you feel intimidated. So maybe sometimes it may take a few times for it to happen for some people for to recognize like, wait, this is actually bullying. I'm being bullied on the job. And the last thing you want as a nurse, you come in to take care of your sick patients. That's the last thing that you would want to happen, to be bullied, right? So you recognize that you're being bullied. What next can you do? One, you can confront the bully. You could say, hi, I know you just said all these things, and I don't feel like this is appropriate for you to be saying. And I would really like and appreciate if you could stop this behavior. So, when you confront the bully, if it's safe to do so, because there are some bullies where you may not want to confront them, and we're going to talk about that. So, if it's safe to do so, then you can confront the bully, right? And either two things can happen. They could say, I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize what I was doing was affecting you like that. They can apologize, right? Or they could double down, right? You do have bullies who will, if you confront them, they will double down on that behavior. So, what would you do? If they double down on this behavior, um, you know, so it gets worse. So, if you're on the unit, you do have a nurse manager. There's always a nurse manager who's in charge of the unit. You would go to the nurse manager and you'd have documented these incidents. Write them down. In nursing, they say document, document, document. Write down these incidents, the dates, the times, what was said, if there's any witnesses there, you know, because sometimes when these bullying incidents occur, there's witnesses there, but they are so afraid to speak up or say anything, they just pretend like they're not there, right? So you want to make sure you take note of who was there when it happened, right? So you write down all this information, and one, you go to the nurse manager of the unit. You sit down, have a meeting, explain what's going on, and let her know or him know, you know, this been going on from when, and you tell them about the incident. So normally when you report it to the nurse manager, also I would say most hospitals that I've ever worked at, they have something called an incident reporting. And it's incidents that happen in the hospital. I would say not only report it to the nurse manager, because just in case the nurse manager and maybe the bully are friends, That happens sometimes, right? So I would say do an incident report. In the hospital I work, it's called like a TAPS. Different places have different names for it, but it's called an incident report. And this report goes like directly like to the leaders in the hospital. So I would say get on that computer, do an incident report about verbal abuse, however the abuse was, document it and send it in. Because once it's sent into the leaders, that goes even above the nurse manager and stuff, the nurse manager is forced to do something about it. So I would say document it in the incident report, and also keep a copy of the incident, the where you put the date, time, what happened. Keep a copy for yourself. Keep it for yourself, because you never know where this is going to go. So I would say keep a copy for yourself. So you go to the nurse manager, you reported it, and you did an incident report on it also. So you should be seeing some interventions, right? So if you're not seeing any interventions, let's say you give it 2 weeks, a week, and you're not seeing nothing happened. Like, oh my gosh, you just reported an incident of being bullied and nothing happened. Next step would be is to go to the human resources. Go to the human resources. Do not be afraid. Go there with your documentation and report everything. They have to do something about it. They have to. They have to. And it's also good when you're being bullied to talk to somebody about it. It could be maybe it's someone on the unit that you trust, or maybe it's someone outside of the unit, but you may have a trusted friend or advisor, you could talk to and just tell them, how you're feeling about this, just to see, just to get some support, and see if maybe you're overreacting a little bit, or or yes, yes, this is bullying. But do not tolerate bullying in the workplace. So bullying in the workplace can come from different areas. It could be a physician, it could be a nurse manager. Okay, so let's say it's a nurse manager. Let's stop right there. If it's a nurse manager that's bullying you, go directly to human resources. Or if they have a director, sometimes they have a director that's over the nurse manager, but I would say go to human resources. So it could be a nurse manager, it could be a nurse practitioner. It could be, it could be your peer. It could be someone you just started on a unit, and maybe they've been there for a long time and they just decide that they're going to bully you. So it could come from different areas, but whatever it is, speak up. you know if you feel confident enough to just say something right there when it's happening, say it. I don't like how you speak to me. I would prefer if when you're speaking to me you would change that tone, because sometimes people are so condescending sometimes. But if it's not safe to speak to the bully, or maybe you're afraid to speak up because maybe this bully is very loud, you know so maybe you're afraid to speak up and say something to them, and that's okay. Report it report it do not stay and take it. There's no reason why you should be going to work and feeling extra stress of being bullied. And last but not least, if you have reported it to the nurse manager, reported it to the human resources, and you don't really see a big change or a good change, and this behavior persists, um, see if you can move to a different unit. Let's say maybe you work in, say, med surge, or you know and this nothing is happening. This person may have been there a long time, and you don't feel like the incident ever got resolved or is resolving. Maybe you can move to another unit. don't stay and take it. You could go to another unit. You could go to a different hospital to work. Go somewhere else, you know, but don't take the bullying. So, with that said, I wanted to share my story. And it's two times I encountered bullying, as a nurse. And the first time I encountered it was in ICU. I had just come onto the ICU unit, and this happened maybe 10 years ago. Just came onto the ICU unit, and I was on orientation. And so I'm learning as much as I can. I did not know there was a bully there. So the bully was one of our peers. She was a nurse too, and she just bullied everybody. So I came into the situation not knowing there was a bully there on the unit on the shift that I worked that already existed, right? So I am there learning from my preceptor and everything. And so one night we're working, and one of my colleagues, he has a patient. The patient had just come out the OR, and while he's in there with the patient and my preceptor is talking to me, going over some things, I just heard the bully, she just was going off on this other nurse. You don't know what you're doing. And she's so loud, you don't know what you're doing. Um, I don't know why they gave this patient to you because you're not a good nurse. I could not believe my ears, because you hear about bullying, but so I said to my preceptor, I was so shocked because I've never heard, like a real bully in the workplace. I said, you know, who is she talking to? And everybody around me is silent. You know, it's almost like they're so used to this behavior from this particular nurse. Everybody's silent, and everybody who is helping this other nurse in the room, they're helping him, but they get quiet. Everything is quiet, and this nurse is going off. And everybody in that room is scared, and I'm outside the room, and I realize there's silence, everybody's scared. And I said to my preceptor, oh my gosh, is that her going off on the nurse in front of the patient and in front of everybody like that? And my preceptor, who had been there for a long time, she had been there for like 14 years in the ICU, she's like, yeah, she gets like that. And, that's just how she is. And I said, but we shouldn't tolerate it. And she's like, she's a good nurse. It's just that she gets off. And I thought to myself, and I said it to her, I said, no, that's not acceptable. That's not good. Because imagine like she's demeaning that particular nurse in front of patient, in front of his colleagues, and all the people who are not in the room, like me, who are outside the room. And she's so loud going off on this nurse. If he's doing something that's not correct, there's a way to correct people in the workplace, you know. But she's just going off that he's not a good nurse, and she doesn't know why he got this patient, and just going off on him. And I felt so embarrassed in that moment to be a nurse. I felt embarrassed to know like colleagues could really treat each other like that. And mind you, this guy was a macho guy, but when this nurse started to tear him apart, he just got silent. Everybody got silent in that room. And outside the room, the other patients were hearing it too. And so knowing the person that I am, I went to my nurse manager, about it. And I let my nurse manager know, like, I am new to this unit. And yesterday was really, I was really embarrassed, how this nurse behaved in front of everybody. All the patients could hear, the physicians who were on the unit could hear, because we always have like a resident, we have a physician who comes in, the attending, they could hear, and it did not sound good. And so I reported it to my nurse manager. Um, she said she would talk to her, and she said it's not the first she's hearing something about how this nurse behaves and whatever. And fast forward a few weeks from that, so it didn't happen directly to me, but it happened around me, and I decided I'm going to say something. And so fast forward now, say like 2 weeks later, right? 2 weeks later, this same nurse who is the bully, she has a patient, right? And so I just heard her going off, and it's in a patient room again. Again, it's in a patient room. This time, I was like, our ICU was formed in a U. So, like, she was at the top of the left side of the U. I was at the top of the right side of the U. And so she goes off, and it's loud, and she's cursing. And so again, I was near to my preceptor. I was off orientation at this point, and I was close to my preceptor though. And I said, "Oh my God, is that her going off again, on a patient?" And so when we listened closely, she was cursing a patient. Now, I was like, so all of us ran in the room. All of us who were working that night ran in the room. Because, how can you curse a patient? A patient who is sick. They're at their lowest. I mean, you have patients who may not be nice or something, but it's not in us to go and curse a patient. And yes, she was cursing a patient. So all of us ran in the room, and we're like, what's going on? And she was mad, furious. She said basically she had just cleaned up the patient or something, and the patient must have vomited. And we're like, and she had to change the sheets again. But we're like, we're all here. If you need help, we can help you change a sheet. Like, what is a sheet to be changed? And so we're like, calm down. There's no reason to go off on this patient. And so we helped her change the sheet, cleaned up the patient room. And the person who was charging asked her, like, hey, do you want us to just switch your assignments? Is it that this is too much for you? And she's like, no, no, no. I have had this patient for a few, like maybe 2 nights. I'll continue with this patient. And so we're like, take a break, take a chill pill, like, So we helped clean up the patient and everything. And she took a break, and I was just in shock. I was like, can this, is this really happening? And so we went back to our patients, and I went back into that nurse manager's office that morning. And I said, it happened again. And this time it's worse because now she's cursing a patient, and the family of his wife was there. This time she was cursing a patient. It's really, really bad. Like, you guys have to do something about this. And so my nurse manager was in shock too, because she was like, we just dealt with her with the incident that you reported like 2 weeks ago, you know, and we thought her behavior would have gotten better. I'm like, this is worse. We're worse. We went worse. And so um they spoke with the wife and the patient and her. And I came back to work the next night, and you know what? She was not there. And when we gathered in the break room, everybody was like, where is she? And we learned that they had fired her. And it had to do with that particular incident that got worse. Apparently, she was cursing the patient, and then she also was calling the patient names. I didn't even know that part of it, you know. So when they investigated, it led to even something bigger. And they got rid of her and we got relief on night shift. So I'm just letting you know, if you are in a situation where you see somebody bullied, you know, you may not be able to, you may not want to say something to the person who is doing it. If you're not feeling comfortable to say something to that particular person, or at that time, say something to the leadership. In the nights, we have, they call them house supervisor, they call them OAs, they call them COAs, but they are like the night managers. So if it's happening in the night and your manager is not there, there are other people you could talk to about this, other managers. And, but say something. If you're not able to say something directly, say something to the manager of the unit in the morning when you're getting off. Say something. Don't just leave it like that, because today they may be bullying that particular nurse. Tomorrow they're going to want to bully you. What's going to stop them? And then they create this feeling in the workplace where after a while everybody is just afraid, everybody gets silent, and everybody just gets used to this behavior. So I'm telling you, as a nurse, don't let them push you out of nursing. Don't let them do it. Stand up, say something. And if you feel like you reported it to your nurse manager and nothing is happening, go to the human resource. They have to do something about this behavior. All right, I'll see you again. Thanks for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.